Good morning, traders. Welcome to the daily webinar. And for my YouTube viewers, this will be the weekly outlook for you. It's only one of the webinar we do in the week and one of the live sessions we have, which is we have 5-6 live sessions a day. There was already a session before I come in the room. There's normally an Asian session before I come in the room. And then we do this one. We do a London session. We do a mid-London session. We do a New York Open. And then we do an after the New York Open. So for those traders who ask me what my trading room does, this is what we do. We come in the room, we look at trades, we identify them, we take the trade and we manage them as we go along for the day. That is something you don't get on the YouTube videos. What you get is basic analysis, right? So I think one trader who signed up for the installment program asked me that question: what's the difference between the trading room and just having the webinar? Is that the trading room, we get trade management, follow up on every single trade we take. Every single setup we see, we follow up on it in every session, which you don't get here. Basically, we just did a follow-up before I start this recording on trades we had on Friday. So let's go. I'm going to start with dollar index. And seems like we broke the top. So this consolidation could be either a deeper correction for downside or a bigger flat in the form in here, right? So let's look at the 1 hour. Yeah, it looks like a sell setup to me. The sell setup could either be they're doing this, a bigger flat. Could it be the reversal? We broke the top. So any sell setup we get, we'll take the trade, right? If this turns out to be a sell that is going, we want the trade, right? Right now, we look for a sell setup here. That's a trade you will have to manage because it might not be the start of the downside. It might just be a bigger correction. But if you understand that, it's going to be easy for you to manage, right? Silver, it broke the daily low. We're going up. We don't have a setup here to buy or to sell. Let me take this out. I'll take all of these. There are too many of them. We don't have a setup to buy or to sell as yet. Can it go lower? Possibly. We already broke the daily low, so the turning point is anytime, which means at this point here, it can go back. So if you want to know why we're looking for the break of the low, go back to any of my webinar, look at when we were doing this and what we said should happen. 1, 2, 3, break this top, come back, break the low, and the higher probabilities we're going to go up. Now, that doesn't mean today we start going up or this week we start going up. It means once you break this, the criteria for the downside is finished. It doesn't mean it's turning to the upside as yet. We could have a deeper correction here. We could literally do something like this, and we could drop again, and then we could go up. I don't know if it is going to do that, but my criteria for pattern is saying, you know what? We broke the low, this pattern is fulfilled, this could turn, which means if I get any buy setup, I'm in the trade. Whether that buy setup becomes just a correction, or whether that buy setup becomes the turn of the upside, doesn't matter to me. I'll manage the trade. So if we get a buy setup here today, we're absolutely taking the trade. We don't have anything. Right now, if this consolidates at the top here, this would be a buy. If it comes lower in the consolidation, I don't think it's going to drop. I think it will probably come like this, go back up like that. Well, then maybe by Wednesday, Thursday, we're going to have a sell setup. Can we sell in this range coming down? Yeah, you can if you have the skill level. If you don't have the skill level, don't try doing that. We're looking for a buy setup. Gold. Same here. I think we would look for the buy setup at any point. We did. That line is irrelevant. If you ever follow my webinar, you will know that those lines are irrelevant to what the chart is doing. Those lines are simply guidance for us to understand when we are breaking a structure and going to reverse or break a structure and continue to go, right? So we broke the structure. I think so far we're doing good in terms of how we analyze the chart. When we saw this and we said, well, this would probably go up, come back down like this, we came back down like that. Now the question is this going to continue to go down? Did we get the pattern wrong, or is this going to go back up and then we have the pattern correct, right? So why we're looking at the pattern the way we're looking at it is pretty simple. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, well, this is relatively sharp to me. It's not that you can't look at that as a curve, but it's relatively sharp. Flats are more flat. That's why they call them flats. So I'm thinking, this will probably repeat the same thing here and then go back up one more. And now we have a pretty flat pattern to come back down like this, right? And this would be a perfect flat for upside. Shall we see this? Pretty easy, right? When you know what you're doing. When you don't know what you're doing, that could be headache. So can it go down more? Absolutely. It could come and even break this low. That might not change the pattern itself because we'll have an expanding flat in the middle before it goes back up. Can we assume that this is all we have for the pattern? Let's say this, 1, 2, 3. I think unlikely. In my experience, patterns don't look like that. Now, if I'm wrong, that's okay. We're still selling, or we will look for sell setups. We will still take any sell setups we get, but we'll take them with caution, which means there will either be a small loss, there'll be break even, or there'll be win. We're going to manage them really tight to the downside. To the upside, we might take more risk in it because we like the upside. Now, could we look at this as a flat for upside? I think we can do that safely. You can put an entry order here. The only thing you would have to be aware of is if this come lower, you have to take it off. And if it goes from here, you still have to be aware that it could be just a correction for downside. But do you know, how would you know the difference for whether this is a correction for downside or this is the start of the upside? And the answer is you will never know. You just wouldn't know. So what you do when you have a complete bigger pattern is you take all the buy setups you get and you manage them. And that's the key to success, is managing your trades correctly. Right? You remember that all of you might have heard, all traders heard it, buy low, sell high, right? When you're at the high, you sell. When you're at the low, you buy. Here's a question that I always ask. When I heard that, I really believe it. And I was like, that's amazing. It's so simple. It's so nice. And then when you start to trade and you get smarter and you understand things more and you get more knowledge, you figure out, well, that's bullshit. You know why it's bullshit? You don't know where the low is. You don't know where the high is. And you will never know that. Right? You will never know. Nobody knows where the low is going to be and where the high is going to be. So you would have to have some gauge to say, well, this might be the low based on what? Based on what you assume that's the low. Look at Bitcoin, right? When we thought that could be low, it dropped, or that could be the high. How anybody knew that was the high in the Bitcoin? If you're not basing it on something, no. But once you base the pattern, we said, be careful, guys. This could be the top from where it dropped. And where we are right now could be the low. So when you base it on the pattern and you say, well, this could be the low, you're cautious on any sell you're going to make, regardless of whether it goes low or not. But the point is, if you get a buy setup, you can take it. Because if that is the low, perfect, you're going to make money. If it is not the low and it drops 3 times more, what do you care? I mean, honestly, what do you care? You're looking to sell Bitcoin at the bottom? That's not what it says. It says buy at the bottom, sell at the top. But the problem is they don't tell you is how do you find where the bottom is? And you don't know that unless you have a method that gives you an idea that this could be the bottom. And if that could be the bottom, then okay, look for my buy setups. See? So it's easier said than done. And that is why we have patterns that give us the gauge that we're looking at patterns. And if this pattern is completed and it behaves the way I expect it to behave, I'm in the trade. If it doesn't, then I'll wait a little more, right? So it's simple. When we're looking at things like these, we're saying, oh, this is a big sideways movement. What is the bigger picture doing, right? Well, it still has to come to break this stop before I start selling. Could it be a contracting flat? I don't think so. Possible, could be, but I don't think so. I think we might have got this one wrong. We'll probably have to use this as an expanding flat there, with this as a correction in the middle. And that's okay. You're not, I wasn't looking for a sell here. I was looking for a buy here, which turned out to be a break-even trade. When it goes back up, I think we took it off. We didn't even allow it to tag us because there was no setup here to buy. So now what we want? Well, at some point, this goes back up, break the top, whether we get the trade or not, but the down trade we'll absolutely get. If this is some kind of a weird contracting flat like that for the downside, we don't have a sell setup. See, you would have to wait for a flat there to say, you know what, there's probably one more impulse down. So if you have something you're using to gauge where you think a bottom or a top could be on any given time frame, and you know how to manage the trade, you do have something to work with. But if you don't, then you're just guessing your way where the top or the bottom is going to be, and good luck finding it. Euro. Right? Can it drop more? Yeah, we know this was going to drop. We know this was going to drop. If you took the trade, I'm in the one, or if you took the trade, you got a break-even trade, or you're still in the trade. And if you're still in the trade, this looks like it's going to go back up. Is that a buy we can take? Absolutely. We'll probably put a buy here. Right? Put it on the 4 hour. We haven't broken the low. And that is why I feel that it might be that buy might just be a correction for one more down, because we need to break this low. Well, not necessarily need to break the low, but we're hoping that we can break that low before it goes back up, because that completes the bigger pattern. If it doesn't break the low, then we might be stuck in a much, much bigger corrective structure, which I don't think we're doing. Now, here's a question. Would you take this buy? Absolutely. What if it makes a correction like this and then drop? We can do that pretty easy, right? And still drop and break the low. That would not change the structure we're looking at. You do get corrections, you drop, you get corrections, you drop. And you can end up getting a lot more corrections and drop and corrections, drop. I don't know how low this is going to go. The minimum requirement is breaking this, but that doesn't mean that's where it stops. That means you've fulfilled part of one of these patterns here, right? And this could go as low as possible. It could come all the way here, then go back up. So what we would do is if we get a buy set up there, we'll definitely take it and we'll manage the trade. Now, again, I think this buy setup is going to be a little difficult for those who don't understand patterns, because I don't think this is the start of the upside. I think this might just be a deeper correction and then we'll go. So you have to be cautious in that you don't want it to go tag you. You don't want it to just tag you here and pull back, because you wouldn't be able to manage your trade or manage your way out of the trade for a smaller loss than you should. So I think this is a correction. It's a good buy. We'll probably go up. We'll take the trade. We'll see how we manage it. Found? Okay, this will likely still have to go down more because this is an incomplete pattern. I don't see a contracting flat in the middle either. Well, you could make an argument for a contracting flat since we broke the low. You could make an argument that this here was a contracting flat, because you do have 1, 2, 3 in the middle there. So this could be the low. If this goes above the top, that's a buy, right? If it did break the low here, once you break that low, you can put the buy above the top. You can put a buy above the top. Now, where we think this is going to go, I think this has a much more lower place to go, right? Much more downside. Take off all of these, then just take them off. This has much more downside because we still haven't broken this low. But there's a good chance that we get a deeper correction. See, they made deep correction. You could make a deeper correction. Since this dropped, we haven't had a deep correction. You got a small one there and a small one here. So can we make a deeper correction like this and then drop? Possible. And if that's the case, we can take the buys. So go back to the 4-hour. Is this the start of a bigger correction like this one here? I don't know. We'll take the trade if we get it. What if it comes lower? What if this actually does come lower? Can this drop through the bottom and this is an expanding flat? All contracting flats can be running flats or expanding flats. That is a rule, right? So if it is an expanding flat, what we'd look for is if we get a flag here. If we get a flag here, we're absolutely selling. See? So we're looking at the possibility that this could be both. It could be a contracting flat in there, it could be an expanding flat. And if we get a flag here, we'll sell. If we don't get a flag here, the buy above the top is a good idea because that's a running flat. So we'll see which one comes. And then we'll look at the trade. So this week, there's a lot of setup. You just have to, some of them are contradicting and that they might give you both sides. You just have to wait for the right setup and then decide which one you're taking. And you don't have to take all the trades as well, you see. Looks like we're going to get some more downside here. I think this might give you some more downside here. There's a possible sell setup forming right now. And we'll be looking for that sell. Every sell now, you'll have to be cautious because like all of them, the patterns are completed. We broke the low of this one here. We broke that low, which means the patterns themselves are completed, but it doesn't mean that it's finished, which means this can drop some more. The criteria for the pattern is there. You just want to see where this stops before it goes back up. So this is the sell setup. If it gets, the only way we change this from a sell setup to buy is if this actually goes back all the way to the top. If this comes back all the way to the top here, come back here, then it becomes a buy setup. We actually have one of that to show you. So I'll show you that on the yen. Let me just show you that so you'll understand what I'm saying. So what we were trying to do is sell the yen. Well, we sold this already. We got that trade. We got two trades going down there. One was positive, one was slight positive. We sold that and we sold it here. We closed both of them there, right? Either you close this first and then you close the second one, or you close both of them here, and then it went up. So we were trying to sell it here on Friday. This was a sell setup we're looking for, and then it break the top. You took off the sell. You look at this as a possible flat. If that goes up, we will consider if we want to buy it. We'll consider that. But if this is all the correction, if this here is all the correction, like I showed you just now on the Aussie, then this makes a flag here. It becomes a sell setup. See? So it's already making something that is starting to look like a flag. It's not a complete flag, but if the setup stays there and become a flag, we sell it. Right? If it goes back up, we'll absolutely consider this as a running flat. And if, let's say, instead of dropping here for a flag, this just goes up, that could become a buy setup. Do I want to buy the yen? I think we'll come to that. I don't think we definitely want to buy anything in the yen right now. We're looking mostly for sells on the yen, right? So I could see this dropping from here pretty good. And then we'll see what happens. What if it stays here and consolidate much more? Well, then it's likely going to do this, go back there, make a bigger flat, and then drop again. Any sell setup on the yen we're taking. Absolutely. If you're watching me for the first time, if this is the first webinar you're seeing that I have done, which means you haven't seen any of my webinar before, you should go back all the way and watch all the webinars I did when we were in here with the yen going back to the top. For those of you who watch me all the time, you know what we wanted. We wanted to break it. We actually wanted to break just this top. Break that up and then turn. Well, they broke both tops. Nothing is wrong with that. We're looking for a running flat now, which means this move will not break the low. It is likely going to come here and then go back up. See, we're making that forecast now, years before it is going to happen. And I mean years, I don't mean months and weeks. I mean years before it's going to happen, because this down move here could actually take your whole year. Let's see how long this took. We can gauge how long that will take. If you look at this one started in June 15, it finished the bottom in May 16. So this trade down could take you an entire year to get to the bottom here before it goes back up. And we are making that up forecast at least a year before it starts to happen. Just like we make the break of this stop here. Once you got that one there, we know we're going to come here and we're going to go there. That took 4 years to happen or more. Well, you can go check the dates. But how do we know 4 years before that this is what it's going to do? Here's the question. You can go back and check my webinar when this happened, what we said. We said this is going to make a correction here, and then it's going to go up. Well, not break this stop, but again, just break this stop. Make a regular flat and come back down. It turns out a running flat, but look how many years you stayed in that consolidation before it go. But did it go? That's the point. And what you're looking at, it doesn't mean we didn't trade in here. We trade in the 1 hour, so we trade up, down, both sides. You can trade it all the time. The same concept is there in the 6 minutes and in the 15 minutes. You can do that because you understand how these patterns behave, regardless of what's happening in the world. And I mean regardless, because we did it 4 years, 5 years ago. So that's regardless of what's happening in the world. There could be 3 wars in between. Guess what? It still works. So watch this. There could be another pandemic in between. It will still work, right? It doesn't matter. These patterns, they somehow behave because the market behaves a certain way. Capital moves a certain way. The people who has the massive amount of capitals to move it works this way, right? It's just like things that happen in nature, and they behave pretty much the same way, expected as you would see, right? Look at nature. A lot of things happen the way you expect them to happen. That's the whole point. So come back to where we are at the top there. Any sell setup we have, we will take, regardless of whether it's a win, loss, or break even. We'll take the trade. Because we understand that if you, at any point in time, if there's going to be a very sudden drop or a sudden thing, you don't want to miss it. A sudden spike to the upside rarely is going to happen at the top here. Because this, we think, could be the top. Again, you don't know where the top is. But do you have something that is gauging you to say this could be the top? And if it is the top, give me a sell setup. See? Well, if it is the top and we get a sell setup, we're already making money in the sell, so I think we'll continue. We do take buys too, just so you know. If the range is big enough, we'll take the buy. But I think some of my traders took this buy, right? Remember that one? You took that buy, but if we don't know how it's going to spike or how far it's going to go, you could make a small trade, 30, 40 pips of the day. Sorry, let me go back. Aussie, we're in Aussie. Yeah. So this one, if the flag stays here, we sell. If it goes up higher, we'll cancel that sell and look for a buy setup. New Zealand, you'll probably get another sell. They make a flat, they drop. It might be a break-even trade. This one just give you very little profit, and then immediately you start see difference. So I don't think this is going to go back all the way to the top. I think this is going to drop one more. So we'll take this sell with caution because the pattern is complete. You can turn anytime. Swiss, it will stay here for a while. There's no rush. This one will probably come down here, go back up, come back here, and then I think we're making a big correction there for upside, and that might take a long time. CAD, perfect. We got the sell. We assumed that it could drop. We actually sold this. Yep, take it off. And we sold a number of the CAD pairs because they all did the same thing. That trade is closed. What I would expect here is probably a flat. I think there's a likelihood we get a flat there. Can you make a flag and go back higher? Yep, I wouldn't buy it. Again, I wouldn't buy the CAD. Structurally, it's not a good buy. Can we sell the CAD to the downside? I think we can do that. Because if you remember, this arrow came from me telling you they're going to do this to the upside. And when we break that top, we'll start to look for sell setups to come back here. And when we come here, there's a likelihood we're going to go back up. The magic works, right? So they did that one. Let's flip it just for the sake of argument. I'll flip it and tell you they're going to come back here now, and it will stay there for as long as possible until we see the structural change. There is no structural changes yet. We're looking for sell setups. Can it go a little higher? Absolutely. Don't freak out if it goes a little higher. Just understand what pattern you're looking at. We don't know that that is the top, but we're saying once the criteria for the top is ready. Oh, I have to change this. That is too sharp. Let me put it a little. Yes, let's put it. 1 second. Let me just put it like this so it wouldn't be that twisted. Yeah. Go to the 1 hour. If we get a flat here, that would be a perfect sell setup. Right? A flat will take a while, maybe 2 or 3 days, because normally when you get a small one and a small one and a drop, you normally get a bigger one here and then you get the bigger drop. So it will take a while here and then we'll sell. The range is big enough, we'll sell inside. If the range is too small, we'll leave it alone. Yen, I showed you already. Let's go Euro New Zealand. Okay, we're getting a bigger flat here. This might become a sell setup. There's a small one here and then it dropped. So if they're making a much bigger correction at the top here, if we're making some kind of a bigger correction here, we'll have to wait. Let this come back deep enough and then we'll look for a buy. Right? Now, this could be starting the upside. The reason we're looking mostly for buys on this is that this could literally be starting the upside. Right? We're already buying this. We've had a number of buys that we've closed already, but it's pretty slow. And sometimes that's how it starts, really slow, but then it takes off. Somewhere in the middle, it takes off and go really fast. So we're looking for buy setups. It could be that they're making a bigger flat in the middle there. The range is huge. You can trade within. Could we look at that as a possible, instead of a small flat here and drop, that this is some kind of an expanding flat to drop one more? Yeah, maybe I'll not sell it. I'll just wait for the buy setup. EuroCAD. Okay, this is coming down. That was a sell setup. You could probably get another sell setup here. Can EuroCAD go much lower? Well, we'll keep an eye on it until it breaks this low. So there's just one more drop and then we'll see what happens from that point. The bigger picture could start the upside. There should be a start at the upside of the bigger picture. We bought this because we think this was going to go. It consolidate, drop. You probably get another drop, break this low, and then that's about it. Euro Swiss. You might get a sell setup here. It's a very short-term trade. Put it in the 1 hour, sorry. Yeah, you might get a sell setup here. This is a slow move down. So you can assume that this would make a sell. Come back to about this level. The sell here was not very good because it was really slow to the downside. And I don't think we took this first one. I think the first one we took was for this one here to go, but then we closed for break even here. We didn't take this, that was almost incomplete. So this is a good one. This one you can take as a complete pattern, and this could drop, come back to about this level and then go back up. So we'll see. Euros. Looks like we're going to have one more consolidation, probably go back up, right? This might turn out to be a bigger flat here, go back like this, come here, and then go back up one more, pretty much like this. Just a bigger flat, make another one here, go back up, right? And then we'll see, it's still consolidating upwards, right? This is not the start of the upside. I think this is kind of some kind of a consolidation, but just a bigger one. Can we buy into this if you get a flag here? It's a very short trade if you get a flag here to buy, right? If you get a flag here for a buy, this would be a very short trade to the upside. I didn't think we broke that up, so we're still within correction range. And this one here was sharp. So you get a move down, you get a sharp. If it break the top, well, then this could be the low, and we'll have to see whether this consolidates there. I have to check if we break the top. Right? Maybe some charts will have the break of the top. If you have it on any of the charts that has a break of the top, wait to see whether this makes a flat to drop. But right now, if it gets a flag, you can buy. Euro yen. We're looking for a sell setup as of now. Euro pound. We sold it, we closed, we'll look for another sell setup. Pound Swiss. Okay, if any sell setup here, we're in the trade. Any sell setup for my traders, you could do it on any time frame. Right? Remember, we sold this one, it dropped there, we took it off. We didn't get the buy unless you took this one. I think we took this buy here, but closed it there. Right, that was a short buy. This one is okay. It can drop now. If it drops, we won the trade. This is a good one, actually. Watch it when it comes to this low. At this point, you could make an assumption there's a complete pattern here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So I don't think we're consolidate here and go more, but if they do that, we'll ignore the buy. And if it starts to drop, we take the sell. Pangos. Yeah, stay away from it again. We stayed away. We took this buy and then we stayed away from it. I think we took this one and then we stayed because it's at the top. And again, at the top, it's not confirming any big upside. So just stay away from it for now. We'll come back to this. Pang Yen. Okay, so we got the pullback. We bought that. You closed it. It got a pullback. It might not be the full pullback we look for, but we'll take it as if it's a full, right? So if you remember, I said we got the sharp wave we need before this completes the pattern to drop more. We need a pullback like that. So we got one. The question is, can we look at this now as a running flat? Looks good to me. So if this turns out to be a flag, we will sell it. But if this goes back higher and break the top, we'd look for a sell from here going down. We're not looking for a buy setup. Right? So right now you can put an entry for a sell. Can it make a new high? I think there's a possibility. It could make a flat here and still go one more. This one didn't literally go up in a straight line. There was a flat here. This had a small one here too. So we'll see. I think mostly downside we're looking for. We're looking for the sell setup. Pancad. You can make an argument that this could break the low or it broke the low already. If it drops one more, we'll ignore this one because it's at the bottom already. We'll see what happens if they break this or don't break it. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It's just about whether you get a regular flat on the bigger picture or running flat. So we leave that. On the buy setup on the pound card, we'll take the trade, but it's not there as yet. Pound New Zealand. This was a buy. We closed it. Either Friday you close it. This looks downside too on the bigger picture. So once they break that up, you want to be very cautious. Now, if this is going to take off, we will buy it above the tops. Let it break this top and make a consolidation here before you go, because at this point, it can come back right back here, right? Always you look at structure like this. Now, I don't know that it's going to take off. I don't think it's ready for the takeoff. Let's see in the bigger picture if we broke the low or we need to break the low. Maybe we don't even need to break the low. No, I think we need to break that low. We need to break this low before we actually go back up. So you see there was a sharp pullback here. There's actually a flat in there. And then it dropped. This is enough of a consolidation to drop here. And then if they want to go back up as a flat, that'd be okay. From this point, it can go back up, right? So come back here, go to the 1 hour, look for the sell setup, ignore the buy. Right, at this point, we'll ignore that buy because it broke the top already. That's a turning point. We'll wait for a sell setup. We don't have a sell setup. Also, if you want to buy something with a New Zealand in it, buy the Euro New Zealand, right? If you want to sell something with Euro New Zealand in it, sell the pound New Zealand. So Aussie Yen, looks like we're going to have a sell setup here. We could assume that this is all the correction. Or they make a much bigger correction than that, right? Which means if this stays like this and does something like this, it could drop here and go back up and then drop. Here's a good example. See this? Drop here, go back up, and then drop. So it's either it's going to do that or this is the one dropping. It doesn't matter. It's a sell setup. We'll go with this. All right, let's go. Aussie Swiss. You can sell it here. It's not the best trade. Just leave it alone. Sell the Aussie Yen because this is a big sideways and we're at the bottom of it. So the sell is not a great idea. It might be a good idea, but not a great idea. Just ignore it, literally. This one is making it flat, so it's going to definitely go down a little more. You're going to probably stay here for a while, maybe go back up there, come back here. We'll get a bigger flat there and then make a new high. It has to go up more. Definitely, it has to come and break this top or come to the top, I think, in the daily. I don't think we need to break the top, but I think we need to go to the top because the bigger structures are running flat. We broke the low already, right? So just show you the bigger structure. And you know where that arrow came from? It came from this one here going up, right? So we're looking at this and we did break the low, right? Remember, we broke the low. Before we broke the low, I literally thought this was making a correction to go up. But once it breaks the low, what happens? That changes the whole thing, right? That means if you break this low and this is not, you know, if this is not some kind of a flat there, which didn't happen, then you're making a running flat. So I think this is going to come to about here. And any point from there, you start selling. So these forecasts were made really long ago, way before they started to go back up, right? And now you come back to the 1 hour and you look at if you can trade it. Well, we don't trade this a lot. I think 1 or 2 of my traders might be trading. This thing is really, really slow. I mean, it's extremely slow. You can be in the same spot for 3 days. Whether you buy or you sell it, it doesn't make a difference. It's really, really slow. It moves really slow. Sometimes it takes off. You have to gauge the Aussie and New Zealand to see when they have opposite setups. So if you're looking at the Aussie with a buy in the New Zealand and a sell, and you think, well, both of them look really likely, but you're not sure whether they're going to do that, go to the Aussie, New Zealand. See if you have a buy or a sell setup and take that trade. Because if you're right about the Aussie and New Zealand going in opposite direction at any time, you're going to have a sudden big move on the Aussie, New Zealand. And that is how you can trade this one if you want to trade it that way, the Aussie, New Zealand. Aussie CAD. Yeah, it was a sell, but this one didn't go. We got some of the CAD pairs that went really well. Dollar CAD, I think Euro CAD, a few of them went really well. This one dropped, but not enough. You will close the trade. I think we take it off. Do we want to sell it at this point? We are very close to some low. What low is that? Kind of the big sideways low. We're close to this. That's a sharp move up. So I'll be very careful here because I don't think this is some kind of an expanding flat, which is possible. You could make an argument for a big expanding flat there, looking back at it. You could put this as a flat in the middle as another expanding flat, and you could make an argument for that, but I wouldn't stretch it so far. It's possible, but let's confirm that. And the way you confirm that is if this breaks this low here and then start to go back up, well, then we'll confirm that that is the expanding flat. As of now, I'll put it back the way I had it, with this being a flat here, right? That is also a smaller level flat. You can look at it that way, with this being the low and this is just a sharp move up. So we'll figure out that when this piece or the next piece shows us that, you know what, possible this is going to continue to go down, and that is the bigger one. We have sell setups, we'll take it. We absolutely will, right? That is why I told you we sold it already, but it didn't go well. It's not moving fast, so we'll wait. We'll wait some more. Would I sell this flag here now? We'll see, maybe. It's not the best trade, so that's a maybe trade. There are better CAD sell setups if you had to, right? So New Zealand Swiss, you'll probably get one more down here, but again, if you want the trade, it's only a sell here, a stop here, and the target is breaking this low because we're at the bottom of a structure that it can break the line, but then it's going to likely start to go back up. So it's a trade, but not the best trade again. New Zealand CAD. Sorry, let me take that off. This one was a sell. I would call it a break-even trade. I wouldn't call it a win or a loss because it did go, but first you would close the trade here before it go back, and would you sell it back again here, but then you're closing the trade again. If we get a buy setup here, we'll take it because we're breaking through this line. They can continue to go lower, right? The line is the structure. We're breaking through this structure. It can continue to go lower, but the bigger picture will still be the upside, right? Because this is very, very corrective. So even if you break this low, even if you do, right? So even if this comes and break the low, we still probably would be looking for a trade up before they come back down because this is much more corrective than this. And that leaves this the impulse, this is the correction one more up. So there might be trades to the downside here. You'd have to trade them with caution. And then we'll see because it can turn at any time. But if we start to get buy setups here, we'll absolutely be trading it up. Right? That means we'll be managing the trades as we go along. New Zealand Yen. Yep, we'll look for all the yen pairs are telling us that we'll look for sell setups, right? So you look for a sell setup here. Take this off. There was a buy set up in the New Zealand yen. We didn't take it. There was a specific reason for that, why we didn't go in the buy. We only took the buy in 3 pairs. The rest, we didn't take it. We look for a sell setup here. Actually, if that is a flag that is going to drop, we want to sell CAD yen. We bought it, and now we will sell it. So CAD yen, 3 yen pairs we bought. We bought the CAD yen here for this up move because we're looking for this. And now we're looking for the sell setup. So go back and watch all my yen pairs if you want to figure out why we bought this tree. Remember these sharp moves? Go back and see if you can figure out which tree I'm talking about too. So this is a good one here, right? Look for the sell. Swiss. I told you those sharp moves always come. You might get a sell setup here. Yep. Swiss, CAD Swiss, but it could pretty be one sharp move. So if you get a sell setup here, be careful. It might just do this and go back up. I think we will get a running flat here because we never really got anything for this. You could make an argument for a running flat here. You could make an argument for a flat here, but you couldn't make an argument for this one. So it could drop here and then go back up. Might be a sell setup you were taking. Take off the buy, look for the sell. Swiss yen. This one is the only one that didn't complete the pattern the way we expected to complete the pattern, which is it didn't go all the way to the top. But we'll take the sell still. If it gives a sell setup here, we'll take it and then we'll manage it from that point, see how far it goes, right? And finally, there was a buy setup here. That closed, there was a buy setup above the top. It didn't trigger, take it off. Now, this one is kind of, you can make it, the buy is still there. You can actually keep it, but that is if this does that. Can we buy it from this point? If you want to buy it from that point, you have to be capable of taking a small loss or break even if it doesn't go, which means if it's making a flat here for downside, right? If it's kind of doing this to come down here, you'd have to be able to get out for break even or take a small loss somewhere here when it starts to pull back. Now, I don't know whether you'll be able to do that. So this is a trade. I'll say leave the entry above the top. Not the best entry, but that's all. So if you have a better strategy, what you used to trade, then go ahead. Both sides possible. Both sides only for deeper correction. So if this does come down slowly, it will only be for a deeper correction before you go back up. If it takes off from there, that could be the nice move you're looking for. So guys, I hope you enjoy it. For my YouTube viewers, if you like what you see and you think it has any value for you, it might have value for other traders, please share it. You might save a soul. You might save somebody from taking a wrong trade, or they might find it interesting and they'll learn something from it. So please do that. Thank you very much. Have a great trading week ahead of you. And bye. I might be putting out some smaller videos during the week, but we'll see to that. So trade with care. Part 2 will be out soon. Bye.